Hi, my name is Takuzo Ganre and I got 6 A stars and 5 A's for my IGCSEs. And in this video, I'll give you 15 tips on how you can get straight A's as well. So like the video, subscribe, and let's dive right in. Tip number 1. Use flashcards. For subjects like biology, chemistry, and accounting, they have a lot of definitions that you need to know by heart. So to memorize these, I'd suggest that you use flashcards. You can either use digital flashcards or physical flashcards. Both work just as well. But if you go for digital flashcards, I'd advise that you use either Anki or Quizlet, whichever application you prefer. Tip number 2. Pay attention in class and understand during the lessons. At O levels, you have a lot of subjects that you're doing. So if you pay attention in class and you understand as the teacher is teaching, it will make your life a lot easier, because at the end of the day, after all the lessons are done, you're not trying to do catch up and trying to understand what the teacher taught. You've already understood it during the lessons. So it means you've got a lot less work that you'll be doing outside of classes. And the best way to learn during your lessons is to participate. If the teacher asks a question, attempt the question. You may not get it right, but that's how you're going to learn, and these things will start to stick more vividly for you. And if you have practicals and the teacher asks for a volunteer, be the one to volunteer, be the one to assist the teacher with the practical. If the practical comes up in the exam, lucky you did the practical hands-on with the teacher. So these things will start to come back to you more naturally than it would for others who didn't directly participate in the practical. Tip number 3, make stories. So I like to use this for the more content heavy subjects like biology and geography. They tend to have these long processes that you need to know by heart, and sometimes they can get very long and very boring to memorize. Find a way to make these fun and exciting and more memorable so that it's easier for you to remember. I used to do this a lot for geography, especially for my case studies, and I still remember this sentence from one of my stories for geography: Tombolo be spitting bars. So it's just to help me remember tombolas, spits, and bars. So you can do something like that, be creative with it, have fun with it, and create memorable stories that will help you to understand and internalize all the information that you have to. Tip number 4, in line with making stories, use mnemonics. So there are 2 mnemonics that I actually still remember. One is for chemistry, it's pretty popular. It's for the order of reactivity of metals. Please stop calling me a killer zebra, instead try learning how copper saves gold. And then for the color spectrum in physics, Roy of York gave better in vain. So that's red, orange, Roy of York. Yellow gave better in vain, green, blue, indigo, violet. And there's quite a few mnemonics that you can find on the internet, so you can research or look for some of them, or you can even create your own mnemonics. Tip number 5. Go beyond the scope of the syllabus sometimes. So for me, chemistry was my favorite subject, but you find that with chemistry there are a lot of concepts that don't quite make sense if you only look at them within the scope of the syllabus. If you only follow the syllabus points, some of the things don't make sense. So sometimes I'd actually go beyond the syllabus and look at the real life applications of some of the concepts, because sometimes it would be like, why are we doing this? And then going beyond the syllabus would actually give me that context and help me understand why we're doing things in a certain way, and that way it's easier for me to then memorize and then regurgitate the information in the actual exam. But sometimes it could also be harmful to go beyond the scope of the syllabus, because things tend to get overcomplicated. So I'd say just be careful with how you apply this tip. If you feel you need a bit more information on why you're doing something a certain way, then obviously do a bit more research on it and figure out why it works the way that it does, but don't stray too far from the syllabus, because then again it will get very complicated. Tip number 6, do a lot of past paper questions. There is no better way to practice and prepare for your exam than doing questions that have come up in previous exam papers. So by doing past paper questions, it helps you to actually apply all the information that you have been taught or the information that you have learned into the actual questions, and it's pretty much a simulation of the questions that will come in the actual exam. So if you're going to take one tip from all these 15 tips, it would be to do a lot of past paper questions, because if you keep drilling and drilling past paper questions, you find that these questions tend to repeat over time, and you start to see a certain trend, and you figure out which questions come more often than others, and you master those questions that come more often, and you're pretty much guaranteed to do well in whatever subject you do this for. Tip number 7, ask for help from those that are ahead of you. So if you're doing O levels at a school, I'd assume that you've got seniors who've already done O levels before you. Don't be afraid to ask them for help. If you feel like you need help, go ahead, ask them for help. They'd be willing to help you.
We do not care.
So ask for help even from your teachers. During your free time, go ask your teachers, go bother them. I know some of them might seem annoyed when you constantly pester them and ask them for help, but at the end of it all, they'll be proud of you and you'll be proud of your grade as well. So don't be afraid to ask for help from both your seniors and your teachers. Tip number 8, master the basics. For more calculative subjects like math and chemistry, you find that topics tend to build on top of each other. You find that the more complex topics seem to apply concepts from the basic topics. So if you can master the basic topics and truly understand them, it will be easier for you to then apply your understanding of the basic concepts to the more complex concepts, and you find that things will start to come to you more intuitively, and you actually have to work a lot less to understand the harder topics. Tip number 9, study in short sessions frequently. I know you guys have probably seen those 9-hour study with me sessions. At O level, even at A level, you don't even have to study for that long. As long as you study consistently, it doesn't really matter how long you study. Even if you're studying 30 minutes every single day, it's enough as long as you're consistent. Make sure to find a time that works for you. I found for me 2 hours tends to be the sweet spot. So if you can study for about 2 hours or less every single day, as long as you're consistent with it, it will work for you. So just make sure you're studying consistently, and I would advise against having long study sessions because they tend to be less productive and less efficient, and you end up just wasting time. So try to have short study sessions that you're doing consistently. Tip number 10, stop copying what everyone else is doing. People learn differently. So find a way that works for you and stop trying to copy what others are doing, because it won't necessarily work for you. I'll give you an example of myself. I'm a night owl. I like to study late at night, but there's this one time where a lot of people were waking up early to study, so peer pressure got to me. So I started copying people who were waking up at 3 a.m. to study, and I failed that assessment because I wasn't trusting in my own ability and I wasn't sticking to what I knew worked best for me. So find that study system that works for you and don't copy what others are doing, because in most cases it probably won't work for you. Tip number 11, hang out with people with the same goals as you. So if you plan to get straight A's, find that student who's performing at the top of your class, who's always doing well. Spend as much time as you can with him or her. That way you find that some of the habits that they have that help them do well will start to actually transfer to you, and you start to see yourself implementing them. So find people with similar goals as yourself, or find people who are performing better than you are, and spend as much time as you can with them, but don't be annoying. Tip number 12, the best way to learn is to teach. So when you learn a new concept or a new topic, try to find someone who doesn't know about this concept or topic and teach them. There's a saying that if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you yourself don't understand it. So this will help you to check whether you truly understand what you've learned, and to actually fill in the knowledge gaps that you will probably have after trying to explain it to someone else. Tip number 13, this is for foreign languages. Try to speak as much of the language as you can outside of classroom lessons. So literally find any excuse you can to speak in that foreign language, and you can also watch series or cartoons in that language but with English subtitles. That way you start to understand the patterns of speaking for that particular language, and you also start to get comfortable with different accents within that language. And by exposing yourself to a lot of that foreign language, your vocabulary will start to improve, and the deeper your vocabulary is, the easier it will be for you to actually then speak that language. Tip number 14, read ahead. Try to always stay ahead of the teacher. If you're learning a new topic in the following lesson, try to read up on that topic before the actual lesson, so that when it comes to the lesson, the teacher is teaching it, yes, but it's not your first time coming across these concepts, and it will become easier for you to then understand the things that the teacher will be teaching you during the lessons. And you'll find that it will also allow you to ask more intelligent questions, and you probably consolidate your learning during the actual lessons, so you won't have to do as much work trying to understand the concepts after the lesson. Tip number 15, do not be over-reliant on your teachers. Yes, your teachers are there to teach you, but ultimately you're the one who's going to write the exam. So the onus is on you to make sure that you cover all the content within the syllabus. So you have to go through the syllabus and check through and make sure that you've covered all the concepts. If you don't understand anything, again, always go to your teacher and ask, did we cover this? Could you explain this to me? And to be truly honest, for the most part, your teachers are just there to guide you. Most of the work should be done by you. Now, a bonus tip for all those of you who made it through to the end: do not write notes. Most of the notes for IGCSEs are available for free on the internet. For my science subject, I remember I used PMT notes. My notebooks were pretty much a carbon copy of all the notes from PMT. So it's not necessary to try to create your own notes. The notes are already there. They're available on the internet for free. You can go ahead and look for the notes, print the notes if you really need them. But for the most part, you should spend your time trying to actually understand the content and memorize it, so that you can then learn to apply it in answering questions. If you enjoyed this video, you may also like this video where I show you how I got straight A stars for my A levels. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and see you next time.